Hello, everyone. Back again on a Game Time Decision podcast. You know what they say this week, mid-July, is the dead week of sports. But have no fear, because I, just Joe, will entertain you during the doldrums of the sports calendar. Yes, football has not started. Free agency is over, and there's no preseason and nothing really going on there. Yes, free agency is over in the NBA, and there's a little bit of summer league, but other than that, not much. And yes, the hockey season is over. And yes, baseball is in its break for the week, even though there was an all-star game, which I did not watch. But I have a very good show prepared for you today. And first, I will start off by addressing my disappointment in someone who I viewed as an idol, someone who I really admire as probably my favorite, if not probably one of my favorite, my favorite national sports personality in Colin Cowherd. I try to watch Colin Cowherd, or at least I tried to watch Colin Cowherd every time I could. You know, he's on weekdays, 12 to 3, but you know it'd be over when I got home from school. But I'd watch his clips on YouTube. I agreed with a lot of things of what he had to say. Yes. Was he controversial? Would he say some things that were a little out there? But, you know, if you want to make it in the sports world, that's what you have to do. And I am no stranger to a hot take. But he has been a complete idiot with what he's been saying the past couple of weeks. Mainly about your Boston Celtics. I get it. He is LeBron James' fan, and I am as big of a LeBron James fan as you'll find. I think he is the GOAT, if not tied for being the GOAT, so I definitely understand the LeBron James love. But he does not seem to understand the progress that the Boston Celtics have made, the rapid progress within the last 4 years. And his his mantra, what he's been spewing, he's been espousing a message of, in the NBA you need to be aggressive. And I understand that. And as a Celtics fan, I have had a little trouble staying patient while watching DeMarcus Cousins get traded, Jimmy Butler get traded, Paul George get traded, Chris Paul get traded, all while the Celtics idly stood pat to say. But he acts like the Celtics didn't acquire two all-star level players within 1 year of each other. Within 367 days, the Celtics acquired two all-stars. But that's a conversation for later in the show. He talked about how the Rockets were aggressive and went in and acquired Chris Paul. He applauded Daryl Morey, who has done a great job. But are the Rockets going to win a championship anytime soon? Not while that juggernaut in Oakland is there. And he applauded the Warriors, how they were aggressive because they signed Kevin Durant. That is not being aggressive. Because by that logic, then the Celtics were aggressive. Al Horford and Gordon Hayward aren't Kevin Durant, but Al Horford is a 4-time All-Star. Gordon Hayward, 27-year-old player, an All-Star in the Western Conference, which everyone recognizes is the far superior conference. They acquired those two. They were not afraid to give up their max cap space. I'm doing the math in my head as we speak right now. They believe $241 million. They designated to two players. Is that not being aggressive? Golden State is actually the model of patience. They are the perfect storm of patience. In 2009, drafting Steph Curry. In 2011, Klay Thompson. They got Curry with the 7th pick, Thompson with the 11th pick, and Draymond Green was either 2010 or 11, and he was 12, and he was taken with the 35th pick. So you look at that. That team was built through patience and prudent moves, acquiring Andre Iguodala, a bench of Sean Livingston, and I know he wasn't on the team this year, but Andrew Bogut. He was a key piece when they won their first title, and trading Monte Ellis, a fan favorite, for Bogut. That I know that wasn't very popular, but just another move and that Golden State did. So Golden State was not aggressive. And another thing he's been saying is the Celtics are actually not better this offseason, which is completely ludicrous. yes, they lost Avery Bradley, and that happened last week on my birthday. A little shout out to myself. But we didn't get to address that last podcast. It was right after Gordon Hayward signed. And I've been saying, if you go back last year to podcasts, to things I've written, to things I've tweeted, I've said Avery Bradley needed to go. And not because I don't love Avery Bradley. I think Avery Bradley was nearly as important to your team as Isaiah Thomas was last year. Just when he brought every night that he played in all 55 games, that was another problem. He missed over a quarter of the season due to injury. But that aside, what he was able to bring you defensively and offensively, averaging 16 points a game and 6 boards, will be missed. And I was saying, well, Avery Bradley's going to get $20 million. Everyone's saying Avery Bradley's going to get $20 million. No, he's not. Avery Bradley's not getting $20 million. Avery Bradley's getting $25 million. You look at this Otto Porter contract and you say, wow, Otto Porter? You're going to be saying, wow, Avery Bradley's good, but next year he'll be 28 years old. He'll probably miss a fair share of games due to injury. I hope he doesn't. I wish him all the success in the world, but he has had health issues in the past, and he'll probably play 55, 60 games this year, but, over the duration of a 3-4 year contract, the numbers will go down, and you'll be saying, wow. And you'll be looking at 4 years, $100 million, 3 years, $75 million for Avery Bradley, and you'll be like, what? And that's why the Celtics ultimately made this move. Because the way I look at it is, you only hold on to a guy or rent a guy in the final year of his contract if you are not only a title contender, but a title favorite. You look, let's say it's 2 years from now, and Klay Thompson's going into the final year of his deal, and Steph Curry and KD and Draymond, they're all approaching 30. They're still great, but, injury here, injury there. They're not looking like the complete juggernaut. They look beatable. They're still the favorite, but they don't look unstoppable. You don't dump Klay Thompson for more assets because you'll probably lose him, because you know that can be the difference of you winning a championship. In 2017, Avery Bradley is not the difference in the Celtics winning a championship. So that's why the move needed to be made. And another thing is, people, Colin Cowherd, are acting like we lost him for nothing. Markieff Morris is a junkyard dog. Markieff Morris fits into what the Celtics do. He's very similar to Jae Crowder. I know a lot of people see the size 6'9", listed at a power forward, and think he's a guy who will kind of get his nose dirty and get rebounds. And he will get his nose dirty, but he's not really a rebounder, but he's a versatile wing. And he can play the 4, he can play the 3, and he can defend, and he can shoot the ball pretty well. His shooting numbers were down a little bit last year, but he's still a solid 3-point shooter, and he really fits into what the Celtics are doing. And he also has one of the best contracts in the NBA, making $10 million over the next 2 years. So that's a very tradable asset too. And then we forget the main, and then we look at the obvious reason why we had to trade Bradley was to make room for Gordon Hayward. Now, if I were at the Gordon Hayward press conference, and listen, I love Gordon Hayward. I try to model my hair after him. He really is what the Celtics need, and I am beyond happy to have him. And I am a cap, and not only that, ideologically, I'm a capitalist. I believe you get every dollar possible. But I would like to ask and say, Gordon, Mr. Hayward, did the Celtics ever approach you about saying, listen, we like how this team looks. Cleveland looks vulnerable. We think with you in the mix with the same exact core, adding in Jason Tatum, that minus Jerebko and Olynyk, but with the main core intact, would you be willing to take $300,000 less? Because, when you do the math, you renounce all your guys, they're about $300,000 short. So I was just wondering if you could say, hey, Gordon, can you take $29.4 million this year instead of $29.7 million? Would that be possible? And I'm not even saying the Celtics thought about doing it, but I'm just wondering if the Celtics could have approached Gordon Hayward and saying, listen, we'll take care of you. If you do what you're supposed to do, we'll supermax you. We'll give you the full 5-year, $200 million deal, and you'll be rich. And I wonder if they approach that. And to kind of answer my own question, my own speculation, it's not about the money as much per se, because obviously $300,000 to any of us is a lot of money, but when you're getting $128 million, it's literally chump change. It's literally like saying, can you take if you were signing a job for six figures and they say, can you take $100 less? That's what it pretty much equates to. But you go, and I think it's more about Gordon Hayward wanting the pride and the distinction of being a max player as much as the money itself. And I think that's a big thing, and his agent probably said it. So that's that. And he did take less money to be here, whether it be not getting the 5-year, $178 million, $177 million deal from Utah, or getting going to Miami on the same deal with no state income taxes. So he is making less to go to the Celtics. And you don't want to agitate a player like that. We know that the Jazz were reluctant to give him a max. They said, go test your market. Well, and then they reluctantly matched the Charlotte Hornets offer. So you know what? You always want to stay on a player's good side, but just food for thought. But I can say wholeheartedly, the Celtics are a much better team in 2017 than they were in 2016. And I think that goes without question. People don't understand how good Gordon Hayward is. And now, moving on to my next segment. To get us through this podcast, something I did a little over a month ago. I was bored in class. It was one of the very last days of stats class, the only class I had left. And I thought, well, I have nothing to do. The teacher, she was a terrible teacher, Micheline Harris, worst teacher I ever had in my life. I don't believe she'll be returning to my high school. Just a little shout out there. No big deal. But she wouldn't let us use our iPads, and I really didn't want to get a detention or get in any trouble like 2 days away from my last class of my high school career. So I did what you would think I would do, what I would like to do, and I made a list off the top of my head of the top 100 players in the NBA. And I haven't looked at it since, but you know what? And I went back later that day and I checked online and I made some few crossouts here, crossouts there, but I'm going to go through my list and give the top 100 players in the NBA. Then I also did a little bit of notable exclusions. So to start off, at number 100, I have Robin Lopez of the Chicago Bulls. I'm not going to get I'm not actually, you know what? I thought I was going to say I was going to give detail, but there are 100 guys on this list. I'm going to go rapid fire. At number 99, I have Marcus Morris, who at the time was of the Detroit Pistons, now of the Boston Celtics. And next, 97 or 98, we have Dirk Nowitzki, one of my favorite players of all time. Number 6 or number 5 all time in scoring, over 30,000 points. Incredible career, but a little bit of injuries, a little bit of slowed production as he approaches 40. So had to put him there. Next up, Jeremy Lin. Had a very good year in the time that he played in Brooklyn. Not as good as I thought it would be, but just he got the opportunity, so he's a good player. Next up, I have Malcolm Brogdon, Rookie of the Year. Robert Covington. Lou Williams, one of the runners-up for Six Men of the Year. Evan Fournier of the Orlando Magic. Then I have Reggie Jackson of the Detroit Pistons. At number 90, I have Brandon Knight. 89, a guy who really took a step back this year, and he would be probably 50 spots higher in the list last year. Derek Favors of the Utah Jazz. Up next, a guy that I really like, and I was thinking maybe the Celtics could go after him if the Houston Rockets are engaged in a 3-4 team Carmelo Anthony trade, would be Clint Capella, but he only shoots like 34% from outside of 3 feet, so don't really think he'd fit the Celtics' pace and space system. Next, I have Dario Saric of the Philadelphia 76ers. Then Ben Simmons of the Philadelphia 76ers. He didn't play, but I had to include him. And I did make this list prior to the draft. So just an FYI, there will be no Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball, Jason Tatum, and whoever else. Then at number 85, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, now of the Los Angeles Lakers. At number 84 of the Eastern Conference champion Cleveland Cavaliers, Tristan Thompson. At 83, Otto Porter Jr. of the Wizards, now the proud owner of a $106 million deal. Thank God for the NBA and God bless America. Next up at 82, JaMychal Green of the Memphis Grizzlies. He really stepped up. He kind of brought the grit back to Memphis. They made the playoffs yet again. Mike Conley, very good player, underrated player. Marc Gasol, Zebo, and Tony Allen back end of their career. They're gone from the Grizzlies now. But, he really stepped up and really good player. At 81, Patrick Beverley. At 80, D'Angelo Russell of the Los Angeles Lakers. Oh, actually, wrong. Of the Brooklyn Nets. Little slip because I had it written down Lakers, but this list was made before free agency and the draft and trades. At number 79, former teammate of his, Julius Randle. Next up at 78, we have Greg Monroe of the Milwaukee Bucks. I really like him, but he's kind of a dying breed of players, but really good player. Next up, 77, we have Markieff Morris. Now at 75, we have Andre Iguodala of the reigning champions. Still good, still great defender. At 74, another guy getting up there in age. You'd think he was 74 years old. Dwyane Wade. Some people might say this is low, and he put up good numbers, but those are counting number stats. He tweeted out, not bad for an old man, 18 points a game, 5-6 rebounds, 3-4 assists, whatever he put up. But watching him play against the Celtics, his knees are shot, and he's done. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays, less than 50 games and has 12 points a game. Actually, maybe not because he is playing on the Bulls, and he might get a lot of garbage time. He'll put up Kobe numbers because, Kobe in his last year on a garbage team. Next up at 73, of the Indiana Pacers now, Victor Oladipo. And yes, he is the Domantas Sabonis is not on the list, surprisingly, little foreshadowing. So, yes, the Oklahoma City Thunder got Paul George in exchange for the 73rd best player. And Paul George will obviously be coming up later in this list. I'm not sure exactly where I have him, but he is somewhere in the top 20, obviously. 72, the point guard of the New Orleans Pelicans, who, if he meets certain benchmarks and incentives, could earn this max deal of 5 years, $150 million. It's currently 5 years, $126 million. Jrue Holiday. At 71, one of the more underrated big men in the league. Another guy in the kind of dying breed, but against the Celtics really showed up and did well, and that'd be Marcin Gortat. At 70, of your Boston Celtics, probably the most hated player amongst a large sect of Celtics fans, but you know what? I think he is a very good player, and he gets a lot of hate, and that's Jae Crowder. Little tidbit on Jae Crowder: he shot 39.8% from the three-point line. Gordon Hayward shot 39.8% from the three-point line. And Jae Crowder had more three-point attempts per game. Just a little food for thought. No, Jae Crowder is not near the player that Gordon Hayward is. But people act like he's Marcus Smart laying bricks. He was very solid this year. And that actually might be a little low. I think I made this list during the playoffs after Jae Crowder had a bad game, so I had him a little low, but that's where I have him. At 78, Nerlens Noel. It's 60. At 69, all the numbers are screwed up. 69, I have Nerlens Noel. At 68 of the Toronto Raptors, in the words of Charles Barkley, Jonas Valsu Inuwausas. Jonas Valanciunas. That's the little translation. Look up the video. 67, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Unfortunately, can't really shoot, but very good defender. And his offensive game is coming around, even though is not. If he played 10, 15 years ago, he'd be a fringe all-star. But now his game is doesn't really fit into the modern NBA. At 66, Ryan Anderson, terrible contract, but he, unlike other guys on the list, Marcin Gortat, Robin Lopez, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Nerlens Noel, he fits into the modern NBA. 10, 15 years ago, would not be as valuable, but a 6'10" guy who can shoot threes, always going to have a place in the NBA. Number 65, I have J.J. Redick of the Philadelphia 76ers, making $23 million. I know he took more money on a one-year deal, but like I said, if J.J. Redick can make $23 million in a year, Avery Bradley can make 25. Next up, number 64, George Hill, now of the Sacramento Kings. The Sacramento Kings made a few good moves. Very good draft. Got De'Aaron Fox, Justin Jackson, and Harry Giles, I believe. It's off the top of my head. I'm trying to remember. But very good draft. And they signed George Hill and Zach Randolph. So they're looking like a team. And so hopefully the Lakers continue to stink. I know they got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, but I want that pick this year because you never know. I know that Zach Randolph and George Hill probably won't contribute as much in 2019, but the Lakers pick is really kind of where the cards are. Next up, at 63, Enes Kanter of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Very good Twitter account. Very funny. And a very good offensive big man. Number 62, another guy, a good offensive big man, guzzles boards, but not really, doesn't fit very much into the modern NBA player and really a Celtics big, even though a lot of Celtics fans would like to see him. Nikola Vucevic. At number 61, a former Warrior, a former NBA champion, and the guy who Kevin Durant replaced, who put up close to 20 points a game, Harrison Barnes. At number 60, a guy who I think could really break out this year, was traded midseason last year and really shined. That would be Yusuf Nurkic of the Portland Trail Blazers. At 59, the Italian stallion, Danilo Gallinari, now of the Los Angeles Clippers. At 58, another guy who goes so under the radar, one of the most underrated players in basketball, who does it all, Nicolas Batum. Up next, the reigning Sixth Man of the Year, Eric Gordon of the Houston Rockets. At number 56, I think this is a little high, but I don't know. This is kind of more going off name, and now that I look at it, seeing what he got in free agency was much lower than a lot of the guys on this list who were free agents. But Rudy Gay, even though I think he tore his Achilles last year, ruptured his Achilles, he was averaging like 18, 19, 20 points a game and playing really efficiently. So I think the San Antonio Spurs got an absolute steal in Rudy Gay. I can take the offensive load and pressure off Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge. Next up, number 55. And it pains me to have this guy at this low, but he might actually be even lower. But I was kind of torn because I really love this guy, and he's one of my favorite players. Dwight Howard, he was traded for nothing. The Hawks actually got to move up. Actually had to move down in the draft to get rid of Dwight Howard and his contract, which actually compared to a lot of the contracts signed last year isn't terrible. Compared to, the Timofey Mozgov. He only got like $7 million more than Timofey Mozgov, and he got like the same. He got less money over fewer years though than Joakim Noah. So it wasn't like he got a max deal, but it's really how the mighty have fallen. He's fallen from grace, but he really was the most dominant big man that I got to witness play in his prime. No, I didn't see Shaq. I saw Celtics Shaq. So watching Dwight Howard when I was young, he really was the prototypical big man. At number 54, former Boston Celtic, Avery Bradley. I talked about him earlier, not going to get into it. Number 53, Jeff Teague, now of the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's a team who's really improved. Number 52, another guy who was traded last year and kind of traded for Paul George. That'd be Serge Ibaka. Yes, about 13 months ago, Serge Ibaka was traded for Victor Oladipo, Domantas Sabonis, and Ersan Ilyasova with 1 year remaining on his deal. And then the next year, that was parlayed into Paul George. So, A+ GMing by Sam Presti. Number 51, rounding out the first half of the list, coming off an ACL tear, but still one of the brightest young stars of the game, Zach LaVine, and I think he'll thrive in Chicago. At number 50, and I can't really see my writing anymore, but we got Khris Middleton of the Milwaukee Bucks. He was hurt for the majority of the first half last year, but came on, and he's a very solid three-point shooter, 40%. And with Giannis really coming into his own and becoming a facilitator, you'll really see his numbers spark up. Number 49, Steven Adams. Number 48, Dennis Schroeder. I'm pretty high on Schroeder. I know He battled with Isaiah Thomas, but he did send out a classy tweet after the tragic passing of Isaiah's sister China. And I see a bright future for Dennis Schroeder. At number 47, I have Myles Turner of the Indiana Pacers. At 46, Jabari Parker, another young player coming off an injury, but he was averaging 20 points a game and was really the Robin to Giannis's Batman while he was playing with the Bucks last year. Number 45, Kemba Walker. Number 44, Carmelo Anthony. Yes, he's very overrated. So a lot of people saying you're crazy. You're going to name 43 players better than him. In my opinion, yes. And hopefully he is traded to the Rockets because I think in that system he can really be a fun player to watch because he's still great offensively. 43, I have Goran Dragic of the Miami Heat. 42, Mike Conley. Number 41, and this might be a little low, but another guy who's archaic and cannot be on the floor of a game at the end of it in the fourth quarter because of his atrocious free throw shooting. That would be DeAndre Jordan. Number 40, Eric Bledsoe. I think I'm saying, what? You have Eric Bledsoe will never make an all-star team over DeAndre Jordan? Yes, I love Eric Bledsoe. Next up, I have at 39, now of the Los Angeles Lakers, Brook Lopez. At 38, our emerging star, a guy who in maybe not even 5 years, in 3 to 5 years, could be one of the best scorers in our game. Already is one of the best scorers, young scorers, and that's Devin Booker. At 37, and this guy could shoot all the way into the top 10 at this time next year, depending on health. The process himself, Joel Embiid. At 35, the guy who was taken 2 slots ahead of Embiid, and probably wouldn't have been if it hadn't been for Embiid's injury problems, Andrew Wiggins of the Minnesota Timberwolves. At 34, of the Miami Heat, Hassan Whiteside. I was not big on Hassan Whiteside, but he has been worth the contract, especially considering the inflated market last year. I thought that he would be the type of guy, because he's had problems before with character issues. I thought he'd be the type of guy who kind of got his money and went off the rails, but nope, he was even better last year. 16, 17 points and 13 rebounds, and he was excellent. So good props to you, Hassan Whiteside. Very good player, even though not really the prototypical center, especially for in the NBA today, as I've said many times. Number 34 or 30, whatever. What number do I have here? Yeah, I think this is 33. Because Hassan Whiteside was 34. I might have messed this up. It's written down on a stats packet. At number 34, number 33. No, 34. I'm sorry about this. Bradley Beal, Washington Wizards. Very good scorer, very good young player. Number 32 or 33. It's 33. Andre Drummond, another guy who is very similar to DeAndre Jordan, but he is younger, and that's why I have him higher on the list. I still think that he can improve more. He did take a step back, but still very good center. In the Hassan Whiteside, DeAndre Jordan class, he's my favorite out of the three, but you could put those three in any order, and I wouldn't really dispute. Up next, 32, LaMarcus Aldridge of the San Antonio Spurs. He's kind of fallen a bit. Yes, he wasn't as good. He was on my fantasy team. It was pretty disappointing, but he was still a 17-8 guy, and he's not super old. I think he's 31, 32, so I think he can still contribute. Up next, I have Kyle Lowry, and this might be a little low, but I don't know, injury problems, and he's getting up there. He's going to be 31, so I have him there. At 30, just for right now, I have CJ McCollum. And then at 29, I have Nikola Jokic, and he could skyrocket through this list, but I'm saying right now at this moment. At number 28, Nikola Jokic's new friend and teammate in the front court to help him out, Paul Millsap. At number 27, I have Isaiah Thomas of the Boston Celtics. You might say that's low, but he doesn't play defense, and I think he is kind of a little bit overrated right now by Celtics fans. At number 26, I have Kevin Love of the Cleveland Cavaliers. At number 25, I have Al Horford of your Boston Celtics. At number 24, I have Blake Griffin of the Los Angeles Clippers, who I wanted the Celtics to get, but I'm very happy with Gordon Hayward. At 23, Marc Gasol, another rumored target of the Celtics. Guy just keeps plugging along. Guy just keeps it up, and he is a very great player, great defensively, really rugged guy. Doesn't grab as many boards as you'd like, but great player still. At 22, I have DeMar DeRozan. Great scorer, 26, 27 points a game. He really is in the Kobe, Tracy McGrady ilk. Not the same. I'm not saying he's Kobe or Tracy McGrady, but similar style where prolific scorer, mid-range game-based player, not the three-point assassin. Next up, at number 21, Kristaps Porziņģis. And he would look great in green. He's still young. He'll be a top 10, top 5 player one day, but not right now. At number 20, Rudy Gobert, Gordon Hayward's former friend and teammate and runner-up in Defensive Player of the Year and all-around great center. Number 19, the Boston Celtics, new guy, Gordon Hayward. At number 18, some people might say this a little low, but you look at his numbers, and not only just his counting stats, but also his shooting percentage was like under 42%. Draymond Green, great defender, but I don't think he's a top 10 guy. At number, what are we at? Number 16, I got Klay Thompson. I think he's slightly better than Draymond, but those two are interchangeable. I do not think that Draymond's better than Klay. They're both great defensively. Number 15, we are at Chris Paul of the Houston Rockets. At number 14, Damian Lillard of the Portland Trail Blazers. Or is that 15? No, we're at 15. My bad. We're at 15, number Damian Lillard. Number 14, Karl-Anthony Towns, Minnesota Timberwolves, 25 and 12. I have him at 14 now, but he's going to be top. He's going to be number 1. He will be number 1. Number 13, right now I have him ahead of Cat just because of what he was able to do with his team, John Wall. Number 12, a guy very similar to Wall, both number 1 over. I think they were number 1 overall picks in back-to-back years. Kyrie Irving, the best finisher at the paint. Number 11, a guy who I still wish the Celtics went after. Seeing what the Bulls got for him, I gave it away now, was less than I thought it would be, and that would be Jimmy Butler. And I think if you added Jimmy Butler, then that really would have helped this team go far. You see they got Levine done, and they swapped the 7th pick and the 16th pick. I think that if the Celtics had thrown in Jaylen Brown, who I know a lot of Celtics fans are like, oh, no, you can't throw in Jaylen Brown. You can't throw in Jaylen Brown. I'm still not completely sold on Brown. He's better than I thought he would be, but I don't see star. I see 15 to 17 points a game, solid defense, a lot of turnovers, and a shooting percentage. I don't see his shooting percentage. I know it's odd and it's saying that a rookie's not going to expand on his shooting percentages, but he was in a system where he took so few shots that he only took good shots. So I see him staying around 45% from the field, 34% from 3. And I think if he started taking more shots, it might dip lower, the more volume, if he becomes more of a volume scorer. So I would be willing to trade him in a package for Jimmy Butler, who's only 27. I wouldn't trade both. So that would be the Brooklyn asset, and then Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart, Jae Crowder. I'd give all of them away. So that would be, or I'd give Smart and Bradley to the Bulls. I don't know if they would have taken it. You see these rumors that they wanted prime Larry Bird, prime Bill Russell, and prime Havlicek, but you never know. I think Ainge was being a little frugal with his assets. Next up, a guy very similar to Butler. I have him literally one spot ahead, very close. At number 10, the first top 10 player, Paul George, guy the Celtics were rumored to be after. I'm not going to get into Kevin Pritchard, the dumbass. You have to make the move now. I have to make the move now. I have to get Oladipo now. I have to get Sabonis now. If you waited till the Celtics got Hayward, you would have seen that they probably would have offered at least the Lakers pick. slash Kings pick, which will be, I can guarantee, will be a top 10 pick. I can guarantee it being top 10 either in 2018. It obviously can't. It has to be 2 to 5 next year. But by 2019, you'll get a top 10 pick. And I think the Celtics would have budged. And you probably could have pried Avery Bradley and Marcus Smart or Jae Crowder. You could probably could get 2 of those guys. Avery Bradley is better than Victor Oladipo. I know he only has 1 year left, but still, if you could have ripped up his contract because you had cap space and say Avery will give you, instead of paying you 8 this year and then 25 for the next 3 years, or 22, 23 for the next 3 years, we'll give you 19 a year or 18 a year for the next 4 years. Could have, and that would have been a much better deal than Oladipo. I know Oladipo's young, but I don't get it. And then interesting comments about Paul George, where he said that it's not a foregone conclusion he'll go to the Lakers, and that if Oklahoma City wins, and maybe not wins at all, but makes it to the conference finals or he pushes Golden State, that he'd be stupid to leave. Which, duh, you're not going to win in LA unless LeBron goes. You and Lonzo, I'm sorry, aren't going to win at all. Whatever. But, Kevin Pritchard's an idiot. Danny Ainge needed to wait for Gordon Hayward to sign, so I'm not as angry at Ainge. He probably could have been more aggressive, but whatever. Moving on to the end of the list, number 9, DeMarcus Cousins of the New Orleans Pelicans. Still would love to see him in green. Obviously, a guy who will be coming up on the list is who we all want in green, but I think Boogie could become available, and he's a free agent next year. You'd have to do some maneuvering in terms of cap space, but I guess it could be done. Or you could just trade for him, but whatever. Boogie Cousins would love him. Number 8, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 22-6-5, or 22-8-5, or something like that. He could be the next guy to average a triple-double. If he gets, he's already great without being a great three-point shooter. If he can become even like a league average three-point shooter, he's going to be the best player in the league, or at least top 5. He's already 8. At number 7, this might be a little controversial, but he is not great defensively, and offensively he's kind of taken a back seat as a second option on his team, and that's Steph Curry. Number 6, Anthony Davis, best big man in the league, or, well, maybe not, he's not a center, but if you go by Shaq's definition when he said, well, Tim Duncan's not the best big man because he was a power forward. If you play the 4 or the 5, you're a big man. So best big man in the league, Anthony Davis. Number 5, James Harden, just got an absurd amount of money. Number 4, reigning MVP, Westbrook. And the 3 wings, the 3 small forwards, and the 3 best players in basketball, in my humble opinion. Kawhi Leonard, the snake of all snakes, Kevin Durant. I hate him, but he is. And LeGoat, LeBron James, number 1. So that took a while. We're up this podcast about 38 minutes, so I've probably spent a good 30 minutes giving my top 100, but tried to make it quick while giving some good commentary. Tell me what you think. And then on my honorable mentions, in no order, Deion Waiters, Gorgie Dang, Wilson Chandler, Jordan Clarkson, Marcus Smart, Wesley Matthews, Trevor Ariza, Kenneth Faried, Kyle Korver. So, and I know I missed some guys. Trying to think of who else on the list I could be missing. But yeah, thanks for bearing with me. And I'm going to try to round the podcast out with a few more thoughts. Obviously, slow time of the year, but the Red Sox were playing great baseball until they kind of slumped a little bit, losing 4 out of the last 5 games before the All-Star break. I'm not too concerned. The pitching staff looks good. Big move today in baseball. The Chicago White Sox sent struggling ace, José Quintana, to the Chicago Cubs for 4 prospects. And at first I thought the package was a little bit light. But Eloy Jimenez, I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit out of practice with my little baseball knowledge, as much as I hate to admit it. But he is like, anywhere you look, he's between 5 and 7 in terms of best prospects in the game. So the Cubs gave up a good amount. And now, who is it, Cease? I didn't even know who that is. I heard of Eloy before, but never heard of Cease. But, the White Sox now have one of the best systems in baseball with Moncada, Giolito, Kopech, Ronaldo Lopez, some kid Collins or something like that. I don't know, but I was looking at the list before. So, interesting trade in baseball. The great vaunted Cubs system is now gone. They're either up in the big leagues or they've been traded. So, there's that. I'll probably get into that later next podcast. And then to wrap things up, just want to talk about how weak the Eastern Conference is. If we look at my list, if you want to go through the top, 30 players, 30 teams, 30 players, then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 players are in the East. 3 of them are gone. That would be Paul George, Jimmy Butler, and Paul Millsap are gone from the East. But the East also added Gordon Hayward. And I think if you go the consensus, this isn't just my list. 8 out of the top 30 players in the East. That means 22 out of the top 30 players in the West, which I think played a huge role in Gordon Hayward's decision to join the Celtics. Not only is competing for a championship, or at least a deep run in the playoffs, important to him. Not only is playing for college coach Brad Stevens important to him. I think, like any of us, we want to have pride and we want to get accolades for what we do. You don't want to be, and I think this is both individually and team-wise, stuck. You stay in Utah, and even if you up your scoring to even more, even if you're averaging 25, 24 points a game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Great numbers. In the East, you're starting in the All-Star game. In the West, at best, not to rhyme, you're a fringe All-Star. You're still You're not starting. You're not getting the starting gig over Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard. And you're not getting, and you're struggling to get get a spot ahead of Jimmy Butler and Paul George. So now in the East, you're guaranteed to at least make the All-Star team. And you're probably starting, depending on what Giannis does and whether they can put Giannis as a front court or a backcourt player, and if they're going to put a true center in. But you have a very high chance of being a starter, and you're guaranteed an all-star slot, unless you completely implode, a la Chandler Parsons. Not saying that he's an all-star player, but he really sucked for Memphis. So the East is wide open. That's why I think that if the Celtics were to get another star, obviously they have a fast track to the Eastern Conference Finals, but not only that, one little injury to Cleveland, and they're vulnerable. And the only guy keeping the East together to make it semi-worth watching is LeBron James, and if he leaves Cleveland, and wherever you look, he's going to L.A., either the Clippers or the Lakers, and I think the Clippers are off the table because Chris Paul's gone. But so let's say he goes to the Lakers. The best player in the East is Giannis, in my opinion. I mean, I think a lot of people's opinion, I would say. And then you got Kyrie and Wall. Kyrie would probably want out. Kyrie would say, trade me, because his deal would be up in a year or two. And Cleveland's going to say, we don't want to lose another guy. So let's say they ship him out. So now you got Kevin Love alone in Cleveland. And they probably make the playoffs because the East is so weak. But where would Kyrie go? Just thinking, I'm trying to think of a place off the top of my head, but I don't know. Let's say, would the Nuggets try to get him? And that I think they have a lot of assets. I'm thinking they have a lot of assets. They'd have cap room, and he'd be a good fit there with Jokic and Millsap, 2 great passing big men, and he would be a primary ball handler, but he would still be able to really run amazing pick and rolls with those 2 big men, and then passing out of the post. So just a thought. That's 100% speculation. But let's say Kyrie wants out, and if you're able to get Jamal Murray and Gary Harris and future picks, and so that'd be interesting to see. And then you go to John Wall, who himself got offered 4 years, 170 million, 42 million a year, and he didn't immediately sign on the dotted line. What if he wants to go? What if he wants to team up with Boogie Cousins? Let's say the Pelicans look really good, and they know they signed Jrue Holiday to the big deal, but if they can attach a pick and try to get out from under that contract, let's say they're thriving, and John Wall wants to go south with Boogie and AD. Now you're looking at the best player in the East. You have Giannis, who Woj said could be looking to get out because of dysfunction in the front office, but then Giannis tweeted almost immediately after, I got a loyalty is in my DNA. So let's just say Giannis is still there. Then you're looking at the best player in the East is Gordon Hayward, who I love. But if he's the second best player in your conference, my God. So you're really looking at a wide open gap. So that's why I know the Celtics are in great position for the future and right now. But they could have a guaranteed 5 straight trips to the finals, and while still being what could likely be the 5th or 6th best team in the West, which is unfathomable. Because if LeBron goes to the Lakers, they're better than the Celtics. If LeBron and PG are on the Lakers, they're better than the Celtics. Harden and CP3, better than the Celtics. Golden State, better than the Celtics. Spurs, probably better than the Celtics, with Kawhi Leonard, top 3 player. The Nuggets, if they added Kyrie along with Millsap and Jokic, better than the Celtics. So, it's crazy. So, that's a little bit of food for thought. Podcast about to end right now. Thank you to all who stuck through. Listen to this. I'll be back next week with more basketball speculation, more news. I'm waiting. I know there's nothing to worry about. I'm not saying there's anything to worry about, but can Gordon Hayward just have the press conference already? Just so, A, I can see him in green and hear him answer some questions and hear the Celtics brass finally talk about what Gordon Hayward can do for the team. And B, I want to get the jersey. I really want to get the number 20 in green. And he put Boston Celtics number 20, but I would like to have some confirmation that yes, he is wearing 20, and no, Ray Allen's number will not be retired. So, just very interesting to see. Thanks to everyone who listened, and we'll catch you again next week. And as always, have a great day.